Hello and welcome to the On the Slate movie podcast. I'm Wesley.
I'm Jason.
And I'm Asher.
And On the Slate for today is a special one, folks. It's part 1 of our 2-episode Christmas series. We'll be talking movie news and we'll each give you our favorite Christmas movies. Hit the music. All right, so real quick to start, we have a lot of stuff to get through today, but I am super excited about our Christmas episodes.
Yes.
This is the first one.
The Polar Express.
The Polar Express.
Because we're about to go through these.
We're about to Polar Express our way through this pod today. We have a lot to cover. So real quick, before we get into our favorite Christmas movies, let's take a look back. So this is the epic weekend right now called Glicked or Wickiator.
Nobody's saying that.
I'm saying it. Wicked and Gladiator II, both released. And last week was Red 1. So we'll talk about those 3 movies in particular. We'll start with Red 1 because that came out last week. And from the initial box office returns and the reviews, not a good look for Red 1. If you don't know what that movie is, it stars Chris Evans and Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson. They team up to save Santa. And it's like the spy action thriller thing. And thriller is probably generous, but yeah, $30+ million opening, 6.9 on IMDb, 34 for Metacritic. So not well received by the critics. Fans probably think it's okay, but yeah, I don't know. Dwayne, what happened?
I don't know how true this is. I saw a quote today where apparently Dwayne had seen Oppenheimer in 3D, not in 3D, in IMAX, and that inspired him to also shoot Red 1 in IMAX, quoting, according to some anonymous source or someone close to him, that it would be huge for Red 1 if it was in IMAX. So I don't know how true that is. I didn't go and verify. I just saw the article.
IMAX.
I just thought it was very interesting that he compared. We didn't really compare Red 1 to Oppenheimer, but got, I guess, the inspiration to ensure that it was filmed in mostly IMAX.
That's interesting.
Yeah, I don't know.
I wouldn't. I'm not saying.
Check,
did it release in IMAX in theaters?
I think it did.
Okay, so
I think most big blockbusters get a IMAX release.
Even if they're not filmed,
or some
on an
scenes
IMAX
will
camera?
be shot in IMAX. Some of them, I don't know. But
if that's true, I wouldn't want to bank off of a technicality of it, because we know that Oppenheimer was highly marketed with IMAX. But if you're just relying on that can be a crutch. The movie has to serve its purpose for IMAX as well.
I also think it needs to have a certain level of visuals to make the audience appreciate the fact that it is in IMAX.
Exactly.
I think according to IMDb, it was shot in IMAX. So
Cool.
How about that?
What a terrible waste of resources.
Yeah, I mean.
So I'm just thinking a Christmas movie that would be worth in an IMAX theater. I'm thinking Polar Express or something along those lines, because it serves its purpose of being this visual spectacle. Yeah.
Yeah.
Do animated movies get shown in IMAX theaters?
Yeah.
Because I know technically you're not, because IMAX is a film format, right?
Yeah.
The way they record the movie. But you can't really, can you I guess mimic that with an animated film? I don't know. I'm asking
I think you can, because there's this thing called anamorphic lenses. Are you guys familiar with those?
Mm-mm.
So, and are you, Jason?
Vaguely.
So basically a big visual distinction with anamorphic lenses is the fact that the image gets kind of compressed into the final image, and thus making all of the bokeh and lights and anything that's out of focus or blurry in the background, it'll look kind of like vertical ovals.
Yeah.
And so they were able to, I think, replicate anamorphic lenses, I think for the movie Soul, the Pixar movie Soul.
Yeah.
Because they wanted that type of distinction. So I don't find it hard to believe if they're able to replicate an IMAX format. Because you're basically just, replicating it in a 3D world.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
That's really interesting.
Yeah. Wicked and Gladiator also, like we just mentioned, just came out. And box office numbers aren't really in yet because it's Friday today. So they just came out like last night. So don't have those numbers. But early release critic reviews, solid both sides. Wicked seems to be a little bit more popular right now in terms of acclaim. At an 8.1, that's a really high fan score. This is as of Friday, November 22nd.
Yep.
And yeah, Gladiator with a 7 out of 10 and 72 and 65 respectively for those two on Metacritic. Wow. Yeah, a good weekend, I think. I mean, obviously not to the scale of Barbenheimer, but it is fun. Like, I still think it's fun seeing both of these movies come out in the same weekend. I'm actually seeing Wicked tomorrow. And how about this? Ariana Grande is getting Oscar hype.
Really?
For Wicked.
Really?
Interesting.
Yeah. I don't think that would be crazy. It wouldn't be unprecedented because I think Jennifer Hudson won for a musical after never being in a movie before. But
what about Lady Gaga?
Lady Gaga she did that movie. She got nominated for A Star Is Born.
Yeah.
Well, you see,
she didn't win.
Ariana has acting background. Like, she has a background.
She started on Nickelodeon.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Oh, true. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's right.
But that's cool. I'd be happy for her.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And apparently got really high production value, like costumes, sets. Wicked, the music's the music,
Yeah.
They've got Ariana Grande and Cynthia Erivo, who are both musicians, seasoned veterans of that industry. So I'm sure it's probably really good in terms of production design, but it's only like a part 1.
That's what I
Really?
heard.
Yeah, they actually, I think, changed the title to Wicked Part 1.
They doomed us.
So they Duned us. Yeah, that's exactly what Dune did.
That's interesting.
It wasn't marketed as a part 1, but then...
But in a way, I guess that's... Sorry, I cut you off, Jason.
No, that was where I was stopping.
Oh, okay. In a way, I wonder if that serves the story better, because I know the Broadway play is probably more than an hour and a half long, or however Wicked is. But
probably like 3 hours.
Yeah.
Or so.
So I can imagine it probably bettering the story.
Yeah.
Hopefully.
We'll see. And Gladiator 2 also getting awards buzz as well, especially Denzel Washington. Apparently is
For like the supporting?
apparently really good in Gladiator 2, and also just with all of the spectacle. Apparently it's more of
an epic?
it's not as like story driven and character driven as the first one. It's more, this is just what I'm hearing. I haven't seen the movie yet, so I don't want to, I want you to like take this with a grain of salt, but apparently it's more spectacle. It's more about the gladiator fights and the CGI and the big sets and the costumes, which apparently they put a really big effort into making this movie from a technical standpoint. So should be a fun movie. Should be a fun guy movie, to go see. Vengeance,
Vengeance.
Classic. So yeah, those are the updates. Anything else on those movies that you want to bring up?
Just really excited for Gladiator. I want to go see it.
Glicked.
Are you glad to see it?
I'm
I see what you
glad I don't know.
That could be a stretch. You were almost there.
There's a pun to be made somewhere in that.
I don't have to make a pun. It's okay.
I was listening to a podcast though. It's a podcast called The Town, and the host of it said he saw Wicked, and he said that for those who enjoy the Broadway, from his observation, like there was really good reception.
Okay.
So if you're a Wicked fan, then you might enjoy this movie if you go see it.
All right. Well, I'll be seeing it tomorrow. I'll let you know what I think. I'm seeing it with some friends. Should be fun.
Nice.
Well, we have some brief news updates. Mm-hmm. So we just got a trailer for How to Train Your Dragon, which was maybe one of the best like animated movie trilogies you'll ever see.
Which just came out, just ended, 4 or 5 years ago?
Yeah.
Yeah, it feels weird that we're already getting a remake, live action.
It's a solid DreamWorks trilogy.
Yeah, I mean,
Is DreamWorks doing this?
really good movies.
Yeah. Their name is right above the title card at the end of the trailer.
Interesting. I saw a shot-for-shot comparison because in the trailer it shows
Oh my
Hiccup
goodness.
finding
Toothless?
Toothless?
Yeah.
And I was like, watching that just really made me question, why does this exist?
Yep, I'm right there
A
with you.
shot-for-shot comparison. It is literally the exact same scene.
Yeah, Toothless looks so
And mind you,
similar to what he did in the animated movies.
props to them. It looks great. Toothless, the live-action Toothless or CGI Toothless, he looks
Yeah.
amazing. However, in that shot-for-shot comparison, Toothless in the, was it 2009 original? Came out in 2009?
Let me check for
Something like that.
Toothless still looks just as good in that movie, guys. DreamWorks movies look pretty good.
you. It basically just 2010.
2010.
How to Train Your Dragon. And then the third installment for the animated trilogy came out in 2019.
Oh, wow. 5 years ago.
Yeah, Toothless looked very similar. And
I wouldn't be surprised if they somehow managed to take existing files that they had for the models for Toothless, at least from the later movie, and just
kind of tweak them a bit.
make it look like he was a real dragon instead of an animated dragon.
Yeah.
Kind of deal.
Yeah, tweak some proportions maybe and then make it a little bit more photorealistic.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Just another one of those things where I'm like, animated properties don't need to be remade into live action. In my opinion.
I hear you, man. I was not happy when I saw this trailer. I saw it and I saw the thumbnail and I was like, is this really being posted by an official studio?
It was like a hoax.
Yeah. And so I watched it and it just I want to give respect because I know there's people who are putting in effort and money and a bunch of resources and time into this movie, but it just feels a bit wrong to me. I was watching it and I know, you could say this is for a newer audience, but at the same time, seeing some of those similar shots being almost identical to some of the ones from the first animated movie, I just felt it was cheap.
I guess
not cheaply made, but like a cheap move to do that.
Yeah, it's weird because I feel like when you do a live action remake of a movie, usually that movie should be older, right? Because they're like, oh well, we need to bring How I Met Your Mother. That's a different How to Train Your Dragon. If you want to bring that to the next generation, I feel like you don't really need to because you still have these relatively recent movies that you can still show to your kids on Netflix or whatever. Or I don't know exactly what streaming service they're on, but it just feels too soon. If you want to do it in 15 years or something, sure, but
at least with the Jungle Book, it came out in the, what was it, the 40s?
Yeah,
50s?
this is within the last
ago.
decade that the last movie came out.
Yeah, the first movie in the trilogy, the animated trilogy, is only 14 years old, which is kind of crazy. And
I did like to see that Gerard Butler is reprising his role that he voiced.
I saw that.
I forget his name.
He plays
the dad of
he plays
character.
Hiccup's dad.
Hiccup's dad.
What's his name?
Dad Viking.
Dad Viking.
Mr. Hiccup.
Mr. Hiccup.
Stoic.
Stoic.
He plays Stoic.
What an awesome name.
Isn't it?
The vibes.
Yeah, I did appreciate that. At least they brought someone back. And I think at least that was a really smart move because for anyone watching the animated trilogy, Gerard Butler is still so present in his portrayal of that character. And so bringing him to the live action.
Especially in the first and third movie.
I don't know if that's enough for me to be oh, I still think we need this movie, but
I don't.
I at least think they did the right choice there in that one specific aspect of the movie. But another bit of movie news. This is kind of announced a while ago, but Asher, you brought this up in our group chat.
Yeah.
About the new Narnia adaptation, which is going to be on Netflix. And it's by Greta Gerwig, who, if you don't know who that is, she's directed movies like Lady Bird, Little Women, and last year's Barbie. So she's a high-profile filmmaker, and she's taking on Narnia, which...
Are they going to be movies or like a show?
So they're going to be movies. At the moment, she is set to direct at least 2 Netflix adaptations of The Chronicles of Narnia. And the info I got for some of this news is from a podcast called The Town and from /film.com. I can include the article link below. But basically, this isn't new news, but what is kind of more recent is the fact that she's actually wanting to bring Narnia to be a theatrical release before making it directly to Netflix.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
And that's something that Netflix hasn't really done because evidently they have something in their theatrical release policy that is kind of conflicting with that. And so...
Yeah, I mean, theaters are their competition. Like they didn't release Glass Onion last year, which is the Knives Out.
Oh, so they
movie.
didn't?
Yeah, they didn't release that in theater despite people like wanting it to
they
be
did.
there. Well, they did for like 1 week. That's when we went to see it.
Yeah, I was literally in the theater with you when we watched the house.
Sorry, yeah, I should have clarified. It was only there for a week, and yeah, because I mean, it doesn't make business sense for Netflix to release it in movies or in theaters, I guess. So,
yeah.
But Greta Gerwig is Greta Gerwig.
Yeah.
So she wants it in theaters, according to that article.
Wait till Netflix realizes they can make money from both things. Like, oh, you can make money from ticket sales.
Yeah.
You know, most of that money doesn't go to the theater. Yeah. It goes to the production companies. Theaters make their money off concessions. So, like, come on, Netflix. Let's just play nice.
See, I think it's right for... Like, Narnia is one of those things that I feel is right for a theatrical release because of the spectacle. And also, this actually ties back into what we were talking about, IMAX. So, she wants to do it in IMAX.
Yeah. And that'd make no sense if it was just a straight to Netflix.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Just a property like this, I think.
I don't know of a single person that has a personal IMAX theater.
So, really quickly, have you guys seen the original Narnia movies?
I've seen the 2000s adaptations. Yeah,
the first 3 or the only 3.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I am huge fans of those movies.
Yeah.
I know I think a lot of people I don't think they were that popular when they came out. At least they didn't make a lot of money.
The first one was.
The first one definitely was.
Maybe even the second. But the third one I feel like wasn't
Voyage
as
of the
big.
Dawn Treader. But I loved those movies. I rewatched them recently because I was like, what if it's just like nostalgia? I think they actually hold up. They actually hold up pretty well.
Mm-hmm.
Like the visuals are, whatever. But the story and kind of like even some of the action, it's a good time.
Mm-hmm.
Especially the first one probably holds up the best, but the second and third I like. If you like the first movie, you're gonna really like the second one. So I'm excited to see them done again. I have some hesitations because Narnia is a very clear allegory to Christianity. If you've ever read the books,
Yeah.
Especially The Lion, the Witch, and the Wardrobe in particular.
Yeah.
but the movies portray it too.
C.S. Lewis is one of the most influential authors of the 20th century and was very fueled by his
faith,
spiritual beliefs, and just like traditional Christian beliefs. And I think Greta Gerwig, I don't really think she's subscribes to that faith. So, but neither did the filmmakers for the first movies that we got about 20 years ago. So and I feel like those did honor what C.S. Lewis was trying to do.
Mm-hmm.
But I'm still a little bit skeptical. I know that Greta Gerwig, I have no doubt in my mind it's going to be an extremely well executed from a technical standpoint kind of movie. Yeah, and she also did Little Women. And I think Little Women was a really well-made movie.
Mm-hmm.
I do think Little Women, if you've read the novel, is very also religious. So, and I think an element of that, like one criticisms that a lot of Christians have of that Little Women movie was that they kind of dialed down the Christian like themes in the movie in favor of more of like a human story about like motivations coming from within instead of from like God. And
I see.
so I'm a little like personally me as a Christian, like I am a little skeptical of that. I feel like that's a kind of a trend and even Christian filmmakers doing that lately. And not everyone's going to agree with me there, but I think, yeah, that's just a trend in Christian filmmaking. And especially when somebody that's not a Christian that's making the film could fall into that same trap of trying to make it like a more human story than it is about like what C.S. Lewis actually intended. And I think you can have a human story that is fueled in the way C.S. Lewis wrote it. It's just, are you saying like, where's people's motivations coming from? You know, I think is a big deal there. So I'm skeptical, but I still think it's going to be a well-made movie.
I think the benefit or the cool part about Narnia is that it's super like, it's allegorical in the way it's told. So I guess it's really hard to write out quote unquote Christian themes without just changing the story. Yeah. You see what you know what I'm saying? Like, it's like you said, especially like The Lion, the Witch, and the Wardrobe, to kind of remove some of those elements would require you to change major parts of that story, which I don't think that's going to happen. At least I hope not. Right? I think they're going to stay relatively close to the books.
Yeah.
At least that's kind of what I've seen so far.
Yeah, I hope so.
So to that, I think it gives me a little bit more confidence, I guess, as to opposed to like how she handled Little Women.
Yeah. And even something like The Rings of Power that came out on Amazon, which technically is an adaptation from J.R.R. Tolkien. I mean, it's not a direct like book adaptation. It's more of like a story created that was inspired by Middle Earth and all those stories. Even then, like fans were very critical that it just had lost like the spirit of Tolkien in there. And Tolkien was less like, I guess, less obvious with Christian themes in his works. But yeah, I don't know. I don't know how fans are going to feel. I don't know how I'm going to feel, but I'll go see it. Or stay at home and see it if it doesn't get released.
Yeah, I'm hopeful about it just because I'm with you too, Jason. Like I'm a fan of the Narnia movies we already have.
Yeah, me too.
I think the third one, The Voyage of the Dawn Treader, could be improved. I think there's some things that kind of I don't know. There were a few things that kind of came off a bit campy to me. But I would say I really enjoy the first two, Lion, Witch, Wardrobe, Prince Caspian. And what's cool is that, there's still a lot of playground to enjoy with these stories because we only have, there's how many books? How many books in the Chronicles?
7.
I think 7.
So you have a lot of material and...
They only got through the first, they skipped a book, I think.
Yeah.
They did 1, 2, and 4.
Yeah, something like that.
It depends. The Brits have a different order than Americans do for it. So I forget exactly what the orders are. I think the original first one was The Lion, the Witch, and the Wardrobe, and it is a British film. Like the old ones are British films.
Right.
So that's why they did that one first. But I think the first for the American order is The Magician's Nephew.
For the book?
Yeah.
Actually,
oh,
yeah,
so they actually are reordered?
So, yeah,
overseas?
The Americans have a different order. I don't know why it's like that. I forget.
Interesting.
So the the filmmakers who actually made them were going by the British order.
What? I did not know that.
So in the first movie,
that changes
the house they go to, the mansion they go to avoid the bombings.
Yeah.
Of that older gentleman who owns the house.
Right.
He's the main character in
The Magician.
The Magician's Nephew.
Is he the nephew?
And that one's, I
Yes.
guess, serves as like a prequel.
I think so.
Kind of deal. I don't know. I haven't read all the books. I've only read the 3 that were adapted to movies. But anyway.
We're about to become the On the Slate book podcast.
Guys, oh my gosh. Anyways, I guess to wrap that up, Greta, more power to you. I at least hope you can get it to IMAX. That would be fun. I'm hopeful for the Narnia installments.
Yeah. If you want an IMAX movie, maybe don't take on a project that's produced by Netflix. So, anyway.
We'll see. We'll see what happens.
So, upcoming releases. I'm just going to blow through these. Speaking of Lord of the Rings, there's a animated movie called War of the Rohirrim. It's in anime style. So,
Ooh.
I've seen the trailer. It looks really good. I don't know exactly what it's about. I only saw the trailer once, like a month ago. But
I might have to watch that. That sounds dope.
yeah, it could be a contender for one of the better animated movies
You
this
watch anime?
I'm very picky with the anime I watch.
So like Ghibli.
I feel like it's hard to give a short answer. The thing I love about anime is the visual approach.
Yeah.
And the way they just go about more action-based sequences, because they don't hold back. They don't pull their punches.
It's not as restrained as like some Western animations are.
In a way, yeah.
It's
like
not
they
as
just
grounded.
They just
as
go
we
crazy with the
used to be.
angles, with the perspectives, with
Yeah.
the sound design, and just the elements and stuff. They just have fun with it.
Have you seen Akira? Really quick.
Is that me asking? Is that probably says no?
Probably not. Then it's just it's from like the late '80s, early '90s. It's just a really beautifully animated like.
It's got a cool motorcycle.
I was about to say,
thing.
is that the one where the guy's like sliding sideways on his
Yeah.
motorcycle?
That does happen in that movie,
Okay.
which is weird because the movie isn't really about motorcycles.
Okay.
But that's just the shot everyone remembers.
One would assume, right?
Yeah.
Because that's what people got from it. It's not really about motorcycles, but yeah. Anyways,
Gotcha.
So Moana 2 coming out next week. Way away. So that one should be good. I can't wait to see my niece watching that nonstop on Disney Plus.
Oh, snap.
She has a new movie she can watch. She's like 3, so Kraven the Hunter finally coming out. After all the strikes and the delays, it's finally coming out.
I do like Aaron Taylor Johnson.
Me too. And the movie is rated R. It looks like it's going to be, I don't know. I think it's going to be more of its own thing. And I actually think it's going to be pretty good. My gut is telling me that Kraven the Hunter is going to be the best Sony Spider-Man movie.
Of the 3 like Spider-Man villains that we have that aren't attached to Spider-Man, Kraven's probably the best. For his story can really be detached from Spider-Man. Venom, obviously we discussed it before. Really relying on Spider-Man. Morbius, I guess he's not super reliant on Spider-Man, but that movie just sucked, so whatever. But Kraven, he's just a hunter who can hunt big monsters. You don't need Spider-Man
That's what
for
hunters
that.
do is hunt. So
Yeah, you don't need
thanks,
Spider-Man for
thanks
that.
for explaining that, Jason.
My bad. I'll stop talking.
No, don't stop
I'll stop talking.
No, we need you.
Mufasa, the Lion King.
Fun fact, my favorite actor, Mads Mikkelsen, or Mikkelsen, however you pronounce it, is in that movie.
Mufasa?
He's in the movie Mufasa.
Really?
Yes.
Like
know.
as Mads?
No. As
The character Mads Mikkelsen.
I think it's as like the best friend of Mufasa or something.
Okay.
I'm not sure. Maybe the best friend of Scar. I don't really. It's a movie I'm not going to watch. So
Is it animated or live action? I'll let you guys decide.
CGI.
It's animated to be live action dependent.
But do not be fooled. None of that is real.
It's animated to look live action.
They might have some shots in that, I don't know, African savannah. I have no idea. But anyway.
Well, I listened to Jon Favreau talk about it on a podcast a while ago for The Lion King, the Go Creative Show podcast. And he was, was it Jon Favreau or is it someone else who worked on it?
Jon
Either way-
Favreau is the director.
Well, yeah, he was the director. Maybe it was someone else who was a part of the VFX or the cinematography. But basically, like, a lot of the world was built in 3D. And they had, like, this virtual camera almost looking like a Nintendo Switch, essentially.
Oh,
Like,
wow.
they have a screen and they can move it around. And they are, like, the camera. And so they can look around in the world.
Oh, that's cool.
So a lot of it, some of it might be, real footage. But I know they built, a good portion of the 3D world for The Lion King.
So then why'd they remake The Lion King if they would.
Well, this is going to be a
Live-action Lion
prequel.
King. I know that.
Mufasa.
I'm just saying.
Mufasa is the dad in The Lion King, right?
Correct.
It's
Okay.
like the same thing as Transformers 1. It's like Megatron and...
It's not. It is not.
It's like the same concept. Two enemies, but the prequel before they were enemies. When they were friends.
So is Transformers 1, if it was released in like Spanish speaking countries, was it Transformers Uno?
I hope so.
I guess.
so.
Did Uno become like a... Oh, wait, is Uno Hasbro as well?
It's all
Anyways,
connected.
anyways,
It's all
this is so
connected.
off.
The
This is
Uno
so off.
cinematic
They're gonna cut
universe.
us off. They're gonna shut us down.
The
Anyways.
Uno cinematic universe. Might as well. Sonic Trace,
3.
since we're speaking Spanish.
They're not.
We're not speaking Spanish. Sonic 3 is coming out. I just no feelings about this whatsoever. Jason, you're our Sonic guy here.
You lack whimsy.
I like whimsy.
You lack whimsy. Yeah, Sonic's hilarious. I mean, what?
But see,
You're telling me that the Jim Carrey performance in the first 2 movies don't move you?
I think
No,
I think he has fun. I think he has fun.
What more can you
with
ask
them.
from an actor other than to have fun? Not much.
Well, to do a good job, but I think he does do a good job.
I just am... The way they have portrayed Sonic in these movies kind of feels different to me because I grew up being familiar with Sonic as kind of like the cool guy.
More
Like
of an adult.
more of an adult, a bit more responsible. Like he never was the joke cracker to me through my exposure to Sonic. So having him be more of like this quick-witted, immature version, I was like, I kind of want to see cool Sonic, like the way I kind of remember him from other material.
So
Yeah.
it's definitely in conflict with like earlier versions of Sonic, but like some of the newer stuff outside of the movies, like there's a Sonic TV show, and some of the more newer Sonic games, some of them,
Yeah.
Sonic is very much this kind of jokey character
Okay.
who's a little
Hey
dumb.
guys, got to go fast.
Yeah,
I don't think that's what he says, but
doesn't say
that's
that.
what I picture him saying.
but so I understand why you'd feel that way though, because
Yeah.
it is definitely, especially like the first handful of games, Sonic's actually more of like a serious protagonist kind of.
Yeah. Yeah.
But I like this Sonic too.
They should
I
bring
get
back
you,
the
I get you.
original blue Sonic design.
Oh
that they
boy,
had.
please don't.
They should bring that back
They should.
Please
just
don't.
for the memes. Anyway, Christmas released Nosferatu.
Dude,
What
me,
is
me and
this?
Jason are going to be there.
Robert Eggers.
Robert Eggers directed was it
The
The Witch,
Lighthouse?
The Witch, The Lighthouse, and The Northman. All the thes. The. This is the first non-the title for Robert Eggers. Nosferatu. I think he's like a classic character in stories.
He's the original vampire.
He's like a vampire.
Nosferatu's the original vampire.
It's gonna be a spooky movie, and I'm probably gonna get scared. But
I know everybody thinks of Dracula. Nosferatu came first.
No, it's
Take
wrong.
that,
Like the
Dracula.
book. Dude, I'm so excited for this. I'm a big, as far as like modern directors go, Christopher Nolan, Denis Villeneuve, Robert Eggers,
Matt Reeves,
Matt Reeves is there too.
for me at least. Yeah, I
but-
mean, The Northman was one of my favorite movies of that year that it came out.
The Lighthouse.
The Lighthouse, I've actually not seen that,
You're missing out.
but
It's just
I need to see it.
two dudes isolated in a lighthouse and shenanigans ensue. Not shenanigans, more like
Robert Pattinson
this is
and
terrible
Willem
and
Dafoe.
life sucks when you're stuck on a lighthouse. Anyways,
Well, it should be good. I think he's got a good taste for spooky themes and horror. So
it's like off horror,
yeah,
right?
it's like
not
artistic, like
The Witch
Yeah.
or the Vivitch. I'm sorry.
is it like German or something?
No, that's how it's written out. It's just two
V's?
Well, that's what. Okay, the W was originally two V's,
back in the day.
like back in Old English or something.
All right,
Ah.
all right.
I might be like wrong in my what is it, entomology?
So did they just get tired of saying "vava" and just change it to "w"?
I just think they said it so fast. They're like, we need a new letter. I don't know. I don't really know.
"Vava, w"?
Well, anyway, I think it's time, gentlemen, to talk about So we're each going to talk about our favorite Christmas movie. And if there's a repeat,
It's 9:05.
one of us will have to...
You said it's time.
It's time. Oh.
It's actually 9:07 according to my computer.
I have a mechanical watch.
Well, I didn't mean the literal time, guys. You guys are so silly.
Don't call me silly.
Christmas movie. Favorite
Yeah.
Christmas movie.
So I have one. I hope Asher and Jason each have one.
I got one.
I got like 2.
I got one in the bag.
I got
It's
one in the chamber and one in the magazine.
No, dude.
That doesn't make
You got
any
to do a
sense.
Christmas-based pun.
Oh, I got one in the oven.
one in the chimney. That makes no sense. Jason says the craziest things.
I mean, you could make that work.
This is how he is in real life too, not only on the podcast.
Oh my gosh.
He just says stuff out of the blue and we all laugh. So anyway,
You can make that work. You know, you cook Christmas dinners in the oven. So
True.
I give it to you.
I was thinking cookies.
Okay.
Yeah.
There you go. There you go.
I got
Christmas
one
cookies.
in the oven, one in the milk.
one in the
All right.
That-
Now
just
we'll
say your
continue.
favorite Christmas movie, Jason.
You want me to go first? I'll go
Yes,
first.
I would love for you to go first.
Dude. Okay, I got 2.
What?
I got
No,
2
you're
movies.
supposed to pick one, Jason. This podcast is going to be 2 hours.
It's fine. It's fine. Look, they both have very opposite themes, so I can't talk about them in the same breath. Home Alone and The Polar Express.
Oh,
Okay. All right.
All right? All right? Home Alone, classic.
Mm-hmm.
If you're not watching Home Alone every year, what are you doing?
Watching other movies that we're gonna talk about.
Dude, I really love Kevin McAllister as a character. I really love this concept that his family just abandons him or forgets him, sorry, while they all go to France for some reason. And like he's just trying to figure things out. I don't know, especially as a kid, I think you wonder is like, yeah, I could live by myself, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so watching Kevin do that is like, man, that's so cool.
Yeah.
I get to watch movies and eat ice cream and
Go get groceries.
yeah, and attack burglars,
Use your dad's shaving cream or whatever, or what was
After-
it?
The aftershave.
The aftershave, yeah.
which is funny because aftershave only hurts after you shave. It doesn't hurt naturally. Like it doesn't hurt just putting it on your skin. You have to actually like shave your hairs for your skin to be. Anyways,
Wow. Plot hole
What if-
exposed.
What if
Plot hole exposed.
What
Home
if
Alone,
Kevin
worst movie.
McAllister actually was not feeling the burn, but what if he was mimicking his dad?
Wow. And that's a deep
You just
statement
opened
into
up
the psychology of the character.
another eye for me on this movie.
What if that was the case?
You know what? Now that I think about it, that might be
Filmmaking genius.
that may be true, but I don't know. Those screams seem like genuine agony.
Yeah, true. True.
It's the ultimate like tower defense movie too. Like
If that's a genre, of
like
course.
I don't know, it's like protect the
Protect your stuff.
what is that genre? It's like
This is
hold
my
the
house.
line
I have to protect it.
Yeah.
where you make fortifications and defend.
Yeah, so that brings me to like the second part. It's just hilarious. The wet bandits. They're so funny.
Joe Pesci was like the perfect casting for that.
To this day, that movie will make me laugh. Like
I don't know if I've ever seen better casting for a movie than Joe Pesci.
just all the gags and stuff. It's kind of funny because like watching it as an adult, you're like, this is like some super deadly traps.
Yes.
Like getting hit with a full bucket of paint would probably put you in the
Have you all
hospital.
seen that video where it's like, what's the damage or whatever? And
The
I think,
lawyer watches it.
or a lawyer.
Yeah,
And there was
yeah.
another one where it was like, how many times would Harry and Marv have died? And it was like so many times.
Yeah, he like I don't know if it's the second movie where he electrocutes Marv. I think it's the first one.
With the laundry machine.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's the first one.
Yeah, it's the first one. It's just fun time all around.
Yeah.
Marv is.
I will never walk up a
He's so good.
staircase without checking for nails. Ever. After watching that movie.
Dude, imagine getting a nail in your foot. Ugh.
and the shot, like his foot goes so slow,
Yeah.
and then he
You can just hear it. Oh.
going through the flesh, and he just holds his foot, screaming, and he just like is paralyzed there, and he falls back just down the steps.
You know, if I were Marv, I would just go home.
just go to the next house.
I'm
y'all.
just like, I've had enough. It's not worth it. I can rob all these other rich people. Not this one has booby traps.
This one has a crazy kid.
Trying to
It's
kill
also
me.
got like Christmas heart, you know. It's got that cheesy, gooey Christmas feeling that you get when you watch
Dude,
it.
that scene with him and the scary neighbor, the one that saves him at the end,
Yeah.
but when they're at the church earlier,
Bro, so heartfelt. So heartfelt. Yeah.
I could watch Home Alone every day of December.
An underrated John Williams score, by the way.
John Williams'
Really?
version of Carol of the Bells,
Ooh, yep.
it's not better than the Trans-Siberian Orchestra version. However, second best. Easy.
Yeah.
Easy.
Classic.
Right when he starts, isn't that like?
It's when he's
doesn't
like running home from the church
Yeah, like
to like, I've got to go defend my
yeah, it
house.
kicks in. That's awesome.
I love it so much.
Yeah.
And then the Polar Express, which
Great movie.
if you're around my age, we all watched it in like elementary school during Christmas time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Did you go to the gym and they project it?
In my
All the-
school, we would.
I think we actually did do that.
in my school we would watch it in our classrooms.
Okay,
so we
that
would
too, yeah.
pull the projector in. Mm-hmm. It was still before they had projectors in like the ceiling. We did eventually get that, but my earliest memory is them rolling in a projector
The memories.
and playing that movie. But S tier scenes.
The
Hot chocolate.
The hot chocolate.
Hot
scene.
chocolate
Yes.
scene.
What a goated scene.
Actual good song, by the way. The whole kind of through line of him like not really believing in Christmas. And that's why he can't hear the bell right away, but then he does. And then he like loses the bell, but then it shows up at his house the next day. I don't know, man. The whole movie is just like makes you feel warm.
Yeah.
It is a little uncanny valley watching it now.
True.
Oh,
I don't think it's aged as well because it's one of the first, not one of the first, but near the beginning of like these 3D animated movies.
Yeah.
It was like
The
a lot of motion capture.
Yeah, the
Yeah.
motion capture part of it
Because
too.
Tom Hanks plays like
He plays every
14 different character, even like
Yep.
the kid.
Yeah, he plays the kid and the hobo.
Wait, which kid? I thought Josh Hutcherson. Josh
No.
Hutcherson. Josh Hutchinson.
I don't think so.
He might have voiced the kid, but
Wait, he does play the boy too.
yeah,
What?
No way.
What?
yeah, Tom Hanks plays the boy.
Yeah, that's what.
Okay, that's on me. That's crazy.
He plays the train conductor. He plays Santa Claus.
Santa,
he plays the hobo,
the
on
hobo.
the top, which I think is not actually real. I think he turns out to be fake.
He's the Christmas spirit.
Oh, really? Is that what he is?
I'm just saying that.
Dude, the lonely boy, or I guess that's his credit.
Or the
But-
poor boy.
Oh, the poor boy. Yeah, Billy.
Yeah.
Dude, Billy
He tugs at my heart.
Billy tugs a part of my heart that I don't know. Dude, you just they make you love him in the first minute you see him.
It's a Robert Zemeckis classic.
Underrated scene. So like other Christmas movies, they have Santa's bag be an infinite portal to wherever. And this movie is just a really, really, really tall bag. Which is the benefit of having an animated film. You can just do stuff like
Stuffs
that.
Yeah.
hundreds of millions of presents in one bag.
And it's just sitting on the back of the sleigh. I
Yeah.
love it.
Such a man. If I'm ever feeling like it's not Christmassy enough, boom, Polar Express.
That's
Epic,
awesome.
Epic.
That's awesome. Those
Yeah.
are two great movies.
Sweet.
Who's going next?
I can go next.
Go for it, Wesley.
Mine. I'm talking about Elf today.
No.
I'm talking about Elf today. I have seen Elf hundreds of times probably.
I feel sorry for you.
Bum 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 bum. It's classic.
Classic.
And I think it really echoes a lot of what's great about Christmas movies in general, like tropes in Christmas movies. The beginning section, kind of this North Pole area with a lot of like stop motion with like all the weird, like the narwhal and the, you know what I'm talking
Yeah.
about?
Snowman.
Yeah. And
Calling back to like
bye,
Rudolph.
buddy. Hope you found your dad.
By Mr. Narwhal.
Yeah, I think it's a really, it really captures that classic, stop motion, type thing that we saw growing up, like Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer. And
Frosty.
I just randomly remember the I'm Mr. Heat Miser song. I don't know, it just brought that back. I think they did a lot of really cool things with the production design, especially in the North Pole sections.
Yeah.
They would build like 2 different sets, one big, one small. They used a lot of forced perspective. And it was right around that time that Lord of the Rings came out, and Lord of the Rings was doing that too. So it was just really cool seeing the links that they went to make it feel really special. And then, of course, like Will Ferrell. I mean, I think to this day is probably his best career performance. You know, it's not like, you know, I think it's just perfect for who he is as an actor.
Yeah.
He's got that childlike humor. I don't know. It's like that dumb, goofy, you know,
kind of innocent.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that's like the perfect character for him to play. And, yeah, just to me, like, that's just the movie I grew up watching so many times, countless times. And yeah, and it has all those standard themes of Christmas, you know. What are some Christmas themes?
Goodwill toward men.
Goodwill toward men. Yeah, there's lots of goodwill toward men. They all sing a Christmas carol. So,
faith. well,
faith
like,
in Santa, I guess.
I guess just like the more underlying thing of, you know, believing. Because, like, I think one thing that the movie does hit on well is with Elf's dad and, like, how he kind of just became jaded, you know, in a lot of ways. And I think, you know, yeah, there's, like, the belief in Santa, which that's more for a fictional movie. Sorry for any little kids.
No, Santa's real, guys.
Santa deniers will be receiving double the coal this year.
Double the coal.
But I think something that can underlie that too is just that I think that also can kind of resemble coming back in tune with like your kid at heart.
Yeah.
And having this hopeful perspective again. Because I think that was something that came to his dad throughout the movie. And you can see it by the end of the movie in the last scene where they're all together and he's playing piano. Like it felt like a shell just cracked out of him. Like you wouldn't see him playing piano at the beginning of the movie. He was just so, you know, internally closed off. So yeah.
And I think Buddy helped him realize there's more to life than just his job, you know, like his family's important. You know, it's nothing like it's pretty simple themes, you know, it's a family movie, right? But it just makes you feel good on the inside. It's really funny. I could quote the whole movie probably. My favorite scene is probably when he's in the store when there's all the scenes when he like I guess gets a job. It's at the department store. Like all of those scenes are so funny.
When he tackles the department store Santa.
He's like, "You're not Santa. You smell like beef and cheese." Oh,
you sit on a throne of lies.
You sit on a throne of lies. And then he starts like, he's like, "I'm in a store and I'm singing." I can do that whole thing. I can do that whole bit. I won't do that for y'all's sake.
I mean, you could.
No,
it wouldn't just be for us. It would be for our wonderful listeners. I'm sure they would love it.
No, I'm sure they would not actually.
I know I've been a hater behind the scenes about Elf.
Why? I
just like antagonizing.
You just like being devil's advocate.
No, okay.
Or you just like being devil.
Okay, on a serious note, it is not my favorite Christmas movie. Okay? Let me be clear.
Let me be clear.
I do think it's a good movie.
Yeah. I mean, it's not like a perfect masterpiece of, you know, cinema.
It's just not my favorite vibe.
It's not your favorite vibe. See, it's got all the vibes for me. That's why.
See, I think when I watch it, like it's fun, but I don't get warm and fuzzy. I get like the end where they're singing, okay, but like the rest of the movie, it's funny. It's like, but I don't get the same feeling like Polar Express does.
I get you.
But I respect
Dang.
Your opinion.
Okay. Well. Thanks for that, Jason.
I know you
just
needed that.
Crushing my entire childhood.
I know you needed
by saying that a movie that I like is good. That's what you said. It was good. So you don't have to apologize for having opinions.
I wasn't apologizing. Let me be clear.
You just said sorry.
Let me be clear.
You just said sorry, but
I did say sorry. Okay, let me take that. Can I go back?
So I don't know anything about Elf. Anything else about Elf before we go into Asher's thing? I think that's pretty much it. Jon Favreau directed it.
Yeah, it's a solid Jon Favreau
Another
movie.
JF classic.
Yeah.
Well, cool. Asher, what do you got for us?
Well, this is also mine is a repeat from one of the three that have been said. So before I say that title, I will say every movie that's been said is a great Christmas movie. But I was sitting down at the dinner table and I was like talking to my wife. I was like, this is a hard one. I got to choose one. And she's like, okay, if you could only watch one Christmas movie and you couldn't watch any others for the whole season, what would it be? And I was like, heads down, Elf.
Yes. Yes. Excellent.
This is not a shade to any other Christmas movie, but
He stared in my eyes. As he said that.
This is not throwing shit at anybody, Jason.
but it's just the humor, I think, just really does a lot for me.
Mm-hmm.
I just love how much laughter it brings
Yeah.
every time, I watch it, especially with family. And to go back to kind of like Will Ferrell's pure, innocent depiction of like an elf who didn't really grow up because he, was living in the North Pole. And that's so far from the real world. I think it's just so fun bringing him into the, the real world and just following him and, seeing his interactions. And also, too, this is not as a funny note, but more of a heartfelt note. It's cool just seeing how much he affects everyone around him for the better.
Yeah.
Like, by the time we're at the end of the movie, I think most of his interactions that are highlighted, like the supporting characters, his brother, his dad, mom, his girlfriend, and wife at the end of the movie. Spoiler alert. But
We've already spoiled these movies so hard anyway.
Like, it's cool seeing how they all had this jaded perspective in some form. And even in his brother, there wouldn't really be a need for him to have this kind of hardened heart, but because of his household, like the condition of his dad and his mom, like that kind of, I think, trickled down into his personality and like how he was going about life. And so it was cool just seeing Elf just crack into everyone's shell and just break them out of it and bring their true self out. And he did it in such a unapologetic way that was just like, you can't blame him because he's just being him, So I think that was something that's just really cool about it. And just a great movie. And I ditto, what you say too, Wesley, about the way they went about producing it, with certain elements in it that kind of tied to older Christmas movies that were stop motion, or like bringing in forced perspective or bringing in these fun real sets. Like, I think it was cool seeing how they were able to separate the North Pole and the real world. Like, I think that was a really fun thing. And they even kind of brought it together, I would say, in a mostly cool way. Like the transition, the montage where he's, hiking. Like, for me, it was kind of believable. Like, he was exiting this North Pole world and coming into the real world, like us, So I thought that was cool, too.
I just had a thought, bro.
Spill it.
Barbie totally ripped off Elf.
What? Oh.
It's like the exact same movie.
And Will Ferrell's in it.
That is true. Will Ferrell is in both of those movies. But it's like the same thing. It's like you're like in this fantasy land and this fantasy character, and then you leave that, you discover what the real world's like. You learn about life. You learn lessons.
That is interesting. Huh.
I prefer Elf, the movie, personally, but
I
don't know.
I get you.
You learn lessons, huh?
You learn lessons, life lessons.
But yeah.
Entirely unique to Elf.
But hey, back to Home Alone and Polar Express, Jason. Like, those are those are top picks for me too.
It's okay.
Yeah.
If I have like a variety to to watch every holiday season, those are in there. They're great.
Yeah.
I appreciate your pity.
No, I'm being straight honest. No pity here.
Honorable mentions, though, probably Christmas Vacation,
National Lampoons.
National Lampoon's Christmas Vacation. I've watched that with my family before a few times, and we always laughed. Also, last year, a movie called The Holdovers came out with Paul Giamatti, and that movie was incredible. So funny. Yeah, Paul Giamatti's just like an incredible performance in that movie. Really well written. I mean, the three actors that basically were at the center of it were terrific. So I would definitely recommend that for a Christmas movie. It's a newer one, but I think it should be added to people's Christmas canon that they go through every Christmas season. So
Gotcha. Is that transitioning into our recommendations now? Are we gonna
we can totally.
I think we got time.
Yeah, we got time. We've actually made great pace today.
We got time? Yeah, I got time.
Yeah, I got time. So, yeah, our final segment today will be recommendations from things we've been watching lately. And Asher, you went last, so why don't you go first this time?
All right. So these, I'm being very liberal when it comes to recent watch, because I wanted to tie in, like I wanted to go ham on the Christmas spirit. So I wanted to give some Christmas recommendations.
Yes.
But I haven't seen them at least this year yet. But
No, that's fine.
these are, I think, some solid recommendations.
The podcast police will come and arrest you for breaking the rules.
So the first one is the animated movie Klaus from 2019.
Oh, yeah. I've never seen that.
Yeah, so it's really cool. I first saw this with my cousins and my aunt and uncle, and it was so cool because this was at the end of our Christmas Eve party. All of my dad's family getting together, and then the night's kind of winding down, and my cousins wanting to watch this movie, so we stayed with them and watched it. And it was a nice, pleasant surprise. Like, this movie was funny. It had heart. And I think it had a really unique take on the Santa Claus story. So basically, it follows a mailman who's now being kind of sent to this town that is just straight up unkind. Like, they're rude. The whole place is just not a friendly town you want to visit. Kind of think like, Jonah going to the Ninevites, right?
Oh,
Nineveh.
yeah.
Maybe not as harsh, but like, it's a very unwelcoming town. And kind of on the outskirts, he comes across Mr. Klaus, who is essentially Santa Claus. And he is this woodworker making toys. And through this, the mailman is like, hey, like, we can give these toys to the kids in the town. And it's kind of like this effort to bring happiness and joy to the town. And it's cool seeing this duo, like this mailman partnering up with Mr. Klaus, It's really cool. Their character dynamics are really fun to watch. And it's just really fun seeing how the town reacts to this new person who's coming in and wanting to help and bring, joy and a good life to these people. So really solid movie, and it's got some heart to it. There might be some tearjerkers for some people. But yeah, so that's that. And I would say also as well with that movie, the last note is it has a really cool animation style. Like, they did this really cool thing partnering certain 2D animation techniques with 3D animation. And so it has this kind of in-between look where it looks like it's 2D, but it also has elements that make it feel a bit more 3D. And they did it very well. And I can just tell that they really cared about the quality of the film. And it shows. They did a really good job. I give credit where credit's due, and
Yeah.
that would be my recommendation for the first one. Can I give a second one?
Yes, you
Go
can.
ahead.
Go for it.
So, second one is another animated movie. This one's by DreamWorks. 2012's Rise of the Guardians.
Yes. I mean, yes.
Yes. So this movie is fun. Like it's not a movie I think about every day, but when I think about it, when it comes to mind, I always smile. Just the characters were really fun. It focuses mainly on Jack Frost, and Jack Frost is voiced by Chris Pine, and I think he does a great job. And then there's also like the Easter Bunny in it. The Easter Bunny is played by Hugh Jackman.
Russian Santa Claus.
Wait, Australian.
Is he Australian?
Well, in the movie, the Easter Bunny is like,
No, Santa Claus. He's Russian.
oh yeah, he kind of has like I think a Russian take on it. Yeah,
Yeah.
Alec Baldwin plays him.
Merry Christmas.
And the Happy New Year.
Happy New Year.
Oh, and Jude Law's in it too. That's cool. Anyways, really solid movie. I really enjoy their depiction of Jack Frost. I really enjoy seeing his character develop, and he kind of, comes from this place of not really knowing his full purpose. Like he feels a bit like an outcast. He's kind of struggling with that. Kids aren't believing in him necessarily. Like they believe in Santa Claus and Tooth Fairy and whatnot, but he feels like he's not being seen, and so that's a real struggle for him. And so it's cool seeing him go from that to kind of coming full circle with that in the movie. And I think the animation is fun too. I think this is a movie where it served it right to make these characters animated because, he's flying around with his staff as he's like making snow fall, and the Easter Bunny's hopping around and jumping through portals and stuff. Like it's really fun. It's very imaginative, and I think it has a really good message about fear too, because fear, there's a character who plays fear technically, and he is the main, well, I don't know if he's fear incarnate, but like his main tactic or his main weapon is fear. And so I think there's a really cool story within that. You can have a lot of takeaways from, facing fear and being an overcomer about that. So Rise of the Guardians, 2012, and Klaus from 2019.
Epic.
Love those movies.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I haven't seen Klaus, but I love Rise of the Guardians.
I think you'd like Klaus.
From what you described, I think I would also like Klaus.
All right. Not Klaus.
Klaus.
Okay.
It's got some spice in it. Klaus.
Klaus.
Klaus. That's how they
Alright.
spell it for the movie.
Oh, okay. So it's like a German or something.
Yeah, I think they kind of wanted to make it a little bit more of like a foreign origin, which is kind of cool.
Foraging.
Foreign origin.
That should be a word.
Should be a word. So for me, am I next? I'll go next. Sure. I'm already talking.
Go for
it. So mine are not Christmas related, but they're still good. So I want to do as many as 3, but I'll keep it at 2.
Bro, lay it on us.
So I watched, they're both kind of Holocaust related movies. So they're both really sad, but also really good. So the first one came out in the early 2000s. I think it was like 02 or 03. It's called The Pianist.
Oh, I love it. I was just thinking about The Pianist, and I was reading up on, I can't pronounce the guy's actual name.
Adrian Brody?
No.
Oh, the guy
character
he plays.
Vladdy. I'm not going to be able to pronounce it.
He is Polish.
Yes.
Polish is not a fun language for English speakers to try to say.
Yeah, I'm not going to try to pronounce his name, but dude, because I was a little bit curious about how much, because I've seen the movie. I'll let you talk in a second. I was just curious about how much of it was like really real. It's all real, pretty much.
Yeah, it was based off of
His memoirs.
his name is Vladislav Spielman. I think that's close. Vladislav Spielman. So he was a survivor of World War II, and he was a Jew in Poland. And basically, the movie is about how over a course of like 4 or 5 years, how the Nazis systematically moved Polish Jews out like into these ghettos and then gradually into these death camps. And he goes through a lot. He doesn't actually go to a death camp. He escapes. He's about to get on the train, and then somebody, like one of his friends, like pulls him out of the crowd, and he's able to go back into the city. But it's not any easier there. He lives in hiding for years and years, and one of the most tragic things is like how you can see at the beginning he looks like a healthy, successful man. He's a concert pianist, or I think he plays for the radio, actually.
Yeah.
I think is what he does. And how over the years you can just gradually see his health decline. It looked like, I think Adrian Brody lost like a lot of weight for this movie. And you can see, he goes through a bout with jaundice that almost kills him, I think. And obviously like constant peril all the time. And yeah, it's a really, really tragic movie, but also gives you like a lot of hope. And just, it's really well made. Roman Polanski, who's a very controversial figure, but it's a really well directed movie, and definitely recommend going to see that. And the other recommendation I have just came out this past few weeks. It's called A Real Pain. It's directed by Jesse Eisenberg and written by Jesse Eisenberg, and it stars him and also Kieran Culkin, Macaulay Culkin's brother. Or cousin or brother or something. And it's about two people with Polish roots, actually. They're both Jewish men. And their grandmother dies like a few months before the movie takes place. And their grandma in their will gave them money to go do this like really nice tour of Poland. And like, it's for like Jews to like look at all the sites of like the different monuments and stuff. And it's a movie like A Real Pain. That title is a perfect title because Kieran Culkin's character is like, in public he's like kind of obnoxious. He's like really confident, but then all of a sudden he'll just like, something will like trigger him and he'll go off and like start making a scene and making everyone uncomfortable. It's like he's a real pain. I think is kind of the pun there, but also like it's about addressing like the history of your people and your heritage and like the actual pain that you feel from that and coming to terms with it. And there's a few scenes. There's like one scene where on this tour and they're sitting like first class on this bus, and Kieran Culkin's character gets like really upset. Like I think that something that like triggered in him or something. Gets really upset. He's like, man, we should be sitting in the back. Like we're taking this train to the city where there's a concentration camp, and our ancestors were like sitting in the back of the bus, like they were in the back of the train. And it's a movie about like addressing like how to feel, like how to feel and comes to terms with, your identity, I guess. And for them, it was like they were Jewish people, and just connecting with the past. But it was also kind of like addressing the reality of like the situation of like you're living in the present now and you have a different life. It's a very, very emotional movie. Just like this idea of like, oh, I can't live up to like the life that my grandma lived because she lived such a harder life than me and survived, and they're grappling with those questions. And Jesse Eisenberg's character is much more of a reserved, like, doesn't like to make a scene, just likes to be alone, so they're very different characters. I don't know. They're cousins too, I should say that. So they're related. So anyway, I think it's one of the best movies of the year. Like if Dune Part 2 didn't come out this year, I think it'd probably be my top movie of the year. So definitely recommend seeing A Real Pain.
Cool.
So those are my recommendations.
Thank you, Mr. Wesley.
Nice.
My movie, and it's a movie, not a show, not really Christmas related. However, A lot of this movie takes place during the winter. And it has some stuff, but not really. But All Quiet on the Western Front, the more recent one. Watched it again recently. Dude,
Really
such
good
a
movie.
and no, it doesn't. Unlike your movies, this doesn't have a happy ending. There's no real hope in this one.
Yeah, very tragic.
Just if you've ever heard that quote, I don't remember who said it, but that like all war movies are pro-war kind of deal.
Oh yeah.
That or all war movies glorify war, and I think that's true to some extent. But I'm not going to debate stuff here. But if a movie was ever like truly like anti-war, it's probably All Quiet on the Western Front. There's a few other films that I think are harder to watch, but this one is like, it looks really good. Like the way it's shot.
Oh yeah.
The progression of the soldier we follow, kind of similar to The Pianist, where, you know, you start out the movie, he's like really young. I think he enlists at like 17. They like fudge their age so they can go serve.
Yeah.
And by the end of the movie, like all the life is gone from his eyes. The color is drained from his cheeks. Just a really like amazing film. The score, I know some people have some problems with the score because it's a little bit more modern, I guess. A little more,
It's got womp womps in it.
yeah. I think it's great. I think when they're trying to portray this idea of these men who, before the war starts, war is horseback and it's fighting in fields. But in World War I, it transforms and you have these giant machines that roll across the land that can crush you. These huge artillery batteries that shoot shells as big as you are, right? This idea of mechanized warfare that kind of came about. All these high-tech weapons, that, to me, the score really aligns with that. Like, imagine being someone who was born in the late 1800s, going to go fight, or the early 1900s, I guess, for how young the main character is, going to go fight, and just seeing all these things for the first time. I think the score is like perfect for that.
Cool.
I'm pretty sure the movie depicts the kind of famous Christmas Day armistice. So in 1914, they stop all the fighting for Christmas Day and they actually play soccer. The Germans and the British, and I think the French too, participate.
What?
They play soccer together.
That's cool.
And they sing Christmas carols. It's really neat. It's one of those things where it's like, you're reminded, and this is true, like it's a little bit exaggerated, but they definitely had a ceasefire and they definitely sung carols and played soccer together. So it's one of those things where it's like even though these people who are the very next day are going to start, stabbing and killing and shooting each other, they're all just people, I know some other wars have some very different like morals, but I think World War I is one of those things where like the Germans and the French and the Russians and the Turkish and the British, no one party is like really like in the wrong. They're all kind of in the wrong.
Yeah.
At least their leaders are. And all these men, and the movie shows this, how all these men are forced more or less to go die for these generals. In the end, the movie ends. I want to spoil it because, I don't really care. If you haven't seen it, go see it. The movie ends with on Armistice Day, which became Veterans Day, which is November 11th. When they, agreed to stop the fighting, the general in the movie is like, he's upset. He's like, we're going to fight anyways. Charge the line, because they agreed to cease firing at like 11 a.m. on November 11th. 11/11/11. So that morning, they send them out to just go die one more time for no reason. The war's over pretty much. You're not going to change anything. So just this idea that like these people in charge are sending their young men in to fight for no real reason. There's
Other
nothing to
than
gain.
like pride and like this false sense of like patriotism
For an extra few inches, you know, of whatever, right? Of meaningless like land that the Germans won't even get to keep. You know what I mean? They had to go all the way back to their own borders because they're fighting in France.
Yeah, and there was like a scene where one of the guys like didn't want to do it, and they
They
executed
shoot
him. Like he like tried to leave. He was like, "I'm not doing this. Like we agreed to, you know."
Wow.
And I think the movie does a great job of juxtaposing the brutality of the warfare and like this high life that these generals are living and these politicians are living. And like there's one scene where they're literally eating slop, and then it edits quickly to like this really like this plate of like fine dining that they're all just sitting around a table. Like
I can just feel that. Like you describing that scene.
There's another scene where he goes back home. You know, he's on leave, and they're all, you know, he's, you know, kind of telling them what's actually happening at the front. And they're all like, either you're lying or they're ridiculing him for feeling bad about things or this, that, and that. They're so detached from what was actually going on in the war, like the people at home. Like his professor, I think, or his teacher, who encouraged him and all of his friends to enlist, who are all dead now, or a lot of them are, is like, you should be happy that you're serving, you know, your country and stuff. And he's more like, to what end? You know, you don't know what's actually going on out there. It's like all this food you're eating, like we're not, you know, they tell you that we're well supplied and all this stuff, but we're out there and we're, like you mentioned, we're eating nothing, you know, and we're dying and we're getting cut up and burned and hit with gas. And it's just a really powerful movie.
Yeah.
That plays on, I guess, distorts this romanticization. I can't pronounce it. Romanticization.
There you go. You got it.
Of war.
Yeah.
That a lot of people have, a lot of people had then. You know, that World War I is like the, you know, for my history nerds out there, is the war where people realize like, hey, war kind of sucks. It was no longer this like honorable thing that you go do. You go defend your country or you go claim something. It's like, oh, we just die in the millions.
It showed like the, you know, it showed the corruption behind it.
Yeah.
You know, the movie did a good job of showing like, hey, this was a morally like dubious war going on, you know, and today it's like, well, isn't that like all war? But I don't know. You just think like back in the day, we idealize like the American Revolution
or the American Civil War,
or like we idealize the Union, right? Like, just like, oh, they're fighting the good fight. But in this one, it's like you're seeing this part of like, yes, I mean, World War I was not, this was before the Nazis, right? Like Germany wasn't like this objectively like gruesome, like horrific moral nation.
I mean, every country had its faults.
Yeah.
And Germany was really just...
Except for America, of course. I'm just kidding.
In Germany, you know, some context, I guess. Germany was merely following up with its like agreements it had with Austria.
Yeah.
Or Austria-Hungary. Sorry, they were a different country then. Austro-Hungary. Where, you know, if there's anyone to blame, it's the Austro-Hungarians for antagonizing the Serbian nationalists or the Serbians.
If you're Austrian or Hungarian,
no, that's not what I'm
saying. We love you.
The government at the time, you know, it's really their fault, I guess. But Germany was just backing up its ally.
Yeah. So, yeah, just the greater point of like the senselessness and the brutality of war. How like generals who like don't actually fight are the ones sending people off to die. You know, and Daniel Bruhl's character kind of as the trying to negotiate. He was like the negotiator for the ceasefire. Like really great performance and just fighting against these extremely prideful, stuck in their way men who didn't have an ounce of reality in them. So
I should clarify, Germany did still like invade France.
Oh yeah.
Let me be clear. Germany still had some part to play.
But they're all bad. Yeah. Anyway. Well,
that leads me to say that Veterans Day just passed, right?
That's why that's why I watched it.
So to those who are veterans, I just want to say on behalf of all of us, we really appreciate your service. I think I just wanted to make that, clear, just because hearing about that movie just made me think about the people who have, gone to serve, and whether they are alive or not, it's something that I definitely don't want to take for granted.
Yeah. Shout out to my dad for serving back in the 80s and 90s in the Air Force and the Army.
Nice. I got
Happy Veterans Day.
Yeah, I got a couple family members too, so happy belated Veterans Day.
Yeah. Well,
Awesome.
Cool.
Where can y'all find us, Asher?
Yeah, so y'all can find us on Instagram and YouTube. So I'm going to pull those handles up right now. On Instagram, you can look up @OnTheSlatePodcast. We would love for you to follow us there. On YouTube, you can just type in On The Slate Podcast. You can listen to our podcasts there as well. You can also listen to us on Spotify and Apple. If you want to email us, you can email us at ontheslatepod@gmail.com. Yeah.
Right. Well, that will do it. We're going to be back in a few weeks talking about
Stay tuned.
one of our, well, I don't know. We're going to be talking about the movie It's a Wonderful Life, which is one of the most iconic Christmas movies of all time. We figured that would be a good one to deep dive because it has
Plenty
deeper
to say.
themes. It's a classic. I think Roger Ebert called it like infinitely rewatchable movie. So yeah, we're going to deep dive that. So stay tuned in a few weeks. But for now, this has been the On the Slate podcast.
I'm so sorry. I interrupted Wesley closing. I wanted to say, and that second episode might drop on a very special day.
Oh.
We might drop
Columbus Day? Is that already passed?
Our second episode of December might drop on a very special December day.
Fifth episode total.
All right. Yes. Anyways, back to your
now,
closing, Wesley.
That has now officially been the On the Slate
Wait.
movie podcast.
Wait. I just wanted to interrupt you again.
What are you going to say?
Nothing. I just.
Oh, okay. I'm
Just being
Wesley.
annoying.
I'm Wesley.
I'm Jason.
And I'm Asher.
Y'all take care and God bless.